All my life, I've been a terrible person when it comes to managing my money. I do not have a fixed investment techniques. I do not keep aside money from my salary for savings. I max out on my credit cards. I give into impulse purchases. I suddenly decide to travel without planning it for a while. And all of this kept me a poor person. I was literally running from paycheck to paycheck. And if I don't get my paycheck for 1 month, then I'm literally out in the streets. And there are some months where I've gone beyond my paycheck and I've borrowed money. And then that puts me into a loop of continuous bad debts. Until the last 4 years when life gave me most harrowing experiences. I just did not care about my money habits, and because of that, I paid the biggest cost. And what changed in the last 4 years? I've become very meticulous. And take anybody who's really savvy financially will tell you that you need tracking on a daily basis about your finances. And this told me what are my blind spots, how exactly I can cut down on certain expenses, where are the areas that I'm overlooking it, and thereby incrementally solve all the problems that continue to keep me poor. So yes, this today's video is all about the habits that you guys cling on to that continues to keep you poor. The first one is instant gratification, which is essentially giving into your desires. Instant gratification is a phenomenon that when you have a desire, whether it could be buying a goods, it could be achieving a certain task, etc., you just need to do that immediately and you can't delay it. And people who cannot delay it are the people who give into instant gratification. I'm not a proponent of having a saint life that you should not have any basic desires, either material or otherwise. Yes, there has to be a limit to it, and where we draw the line is actually where the game changes. So what is instant gratification and what needs to be fixed in finances? Instant gratification is okay when you're making small ticket purchases. Let's say you want to go to a movie. Let's say you want to take a road trip on the Sunday. These are small ticket expenses that do not affect you in the long term. But whereas when you're making big decisions using instant gratification, that's when the problem starts for you. For example, you go to a mall and you go into an electronics store and you watch that big TV, and suddenly you get a desire that you want to buy it. And television is not cheap. Or you walk into a car dealership and you never had the idea of buying a car, and the next week you get the car to your home. These are some of the big ticket expenses where people do not make objective choices but give in to their desires. What happens here is that you have not planned for it, which means you will most likely to buy it with the money that you do not have. So here is a small thumb rule that I follow in my life that I'm going to share with you guys. Any expense which is more than 10% of your monthly income, you need to have a plan in place, and most likely you should not buy it with the money that you do not have, which means credit card is not the way to do it. And I've also been a proponent of credit card. Now what I mean by that is you should buy something big either with the money that you already have, or you're likely to make the money in the next 30 days, which means in your next credit card bill you're able to pay that off in entirety. There is this phenomenon called phantom cost, and phantom costs are the costs which is hardly noticeable to a person, but that continues to deeply impact your financial behavior over a long period of time. So what it actually means in real life: when you're buying a car, when you're buying a home, you're not just paying the money for the car or the home up front. It brings with it a lot of cost. For example, when you're buying a car, you need to take care of insurance every year. You have maintenance, and you have fuel, and you have accidents, which comes in with its own cost. And you take insurance to cover a part of it, but there is always some money that you need to pay in case of an accident when you're recovering through insurances. And when you're buying a car, obviously you will travel more. You'll avoid public transport. So there is again a hidden cost comes to that. And when you're acquiring a home, there are hidden maintenance costs. You need to have monthly maintenance kept aside. There are suddenly things that will break in the home, and you need to take care of that. You need to fix that. Then there are natural forces at play, which means you need to do repainting, you need to do fixes and damages and everything. So all of these costs is something that you would have comfortably overlooked and looked at the cost of the home itself. Nobody thinks about this cost, and in some cases the cost can go up to 30% of the actual cost of the property or actual cost of the good itself. Ensure that when you're buying something, you're factoring in phantom costs as well. And as I told you, it could be 30% of your cost, which means your decision can change because of the phantom cost involved. And one of the most common things that people always do is keeping investments and savings as the last priority. Most of you would be salaried, and when your salary hits the bank account, you end up paying yourself first. And when you pay yourself first, trust me, investment is the last thing that you will even think of. And more worse is the situation when you end up buying a lot of stuff with credit cards, which means that the money that you will earn in the future, you obviously have to keep that money aside for the bank. Bank is not going to let you otherwise. That means your investments will never come in the vicinity of your priorities. So ensure that you pay yourself last. And hence, if you start following it for 2 months, and then the third month you will stop giving in to those desires where you feel like you wanted to buy something with the money that you do not have with the credit card. And yes, this all begins with breaking down your salary. And when you're breaking down your salary on an Excel sheet, ensure your first line item immediately after the salary is how much am I keeping aside for investments. And until you do that, trust me, you will never get serious about investments or savings. And this again is a problem with a lot of people, that they tend to ignore the most basic of things. For example, getting a life insurance, getting a term insurance for yourself, getting a health insurance, getting a great health insurance for yourself and your family and your dependents. And why is it important? Because you think you can delay this decision for a later point in time. Suddenly, some disaster strikes from a health point of view or any other point of view. It will eat into a good part of your fortune, which you have never prepared for it. This is the money that you have meticulously saved. You have given up a lot of desires, lot of happiness in life to get to here. And suddenly, you cannot have one event that take this away from you. A lot of people have an inherent fear of getting a basic health checkup, and that is mandatory for getting a health insurance or a term insurance, just because of your fear of getting a health checkup, because you think something may be wrong with your health. You end up delaying this decision. And trust me, this happens with significantly large chunk of people. And when you end up doing this, life throws you very unfortunate things at different points in time. You can't control that, but what you control, that is taking care of the basics. Any insurance package will be available at a very cheap price at when you're young. So unless you're not taking care of the basics, trust me, you will always stay poor, because some unfortunate events at the unfortunate time will come and take your fortune away. A lot of people lose a lot of money around the end of the taxation period, simply because they are not religious enough to ensure that they are optimizing for the tax. And people think hiring CAs is for the rich people, and you cannot be far from the truth. You just need to hire a good CA who will tell you how to save taxes and taking care of your basics. This means your taxation bucket filled with all the investment options. Are there any other loopholes through which you can save better taxes? This is something that comes through effort. There is nobody that who's doing this for you, and you need to be aware of all the tax timelines, tax deadlines, etc. And you need to plan backwards, so that not even a single rupee is going to the government, which otherwise should have stayed with you. And a surprisingly large number of people just do not care about all of these things. And when you go and talk to them, they give you this ideas about YOLO, you only live once. What is the point of a brighter future where you want to give up on the present? All of this is okay. You need to live the present. I don't deny that. But you need to care a little about your future. You cannot be continuously keeping the person today happy at the expense of the future you. So while I understand all of this is okay, you need to have some sort of a planning. And anybody who's had meticulous planning in their life will always be a better person in terms of financial savviness. And I've seen this through innumerous examples in my friend circle, in my family circle, etc. And people who take care of their health also are the people who take care of their wealth properly. So procrastination is the biggest enemy for a lot of things in life, particularly for being financially savvy. You cannot delay a lot of things, and particularly the things that we talked about this video. That's it, guys. That's the end of it. We've itemized the list of things that continue to keep you poor. Start working on them one at a time. And you do not have a lot of time to fix all of this. But the good news is you now know what exactly are the things that are keeping you poor. So, yes, let's get to it and fix it one by one.